Once again, live for the zombie apocalypse, it is the New York Hardcore Chronicles live. What's going on, everyone around the world? Hope everyone's well. Philip in Berlin. What's going on in Berlin, man? My kind of town, Berlin. There you go. Ray Hogan in Connecticut. What do you say? Fab Five Freddy told me everybody's flying. Here we go. That's right. Yes, James Hollis. Oh, the stories this guy must have. Very excited and honored to have our guest on the show today. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Paulie, what's up? What's up, Drew and crew? Checking in from Florida via Long Island. Shout out to Wacky Wednesday. It's kind of wacky. Hey, Big Rob. What's happening, Rob? Some New York Hardcore OG showing up. What's going on, Rob? I hope you're well, buddy. D, Al, and everybody. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Chacho's Tacos, Generation Records, and the Texas Silver Rush. It's a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. They specialize in working with all musicians in all genres, design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as style them for stage, album covers, promo photos, and social media exposure. Their client list includes Rock Roll Hall of Famers Greg Rolle, Ringo Starr, and of course, Agnostic Front. During this current pandemic, all information and online sales are being taken at their Facebook and Instagram page, and of course, www.thetexassilverrush.com. Come on now, Generation Records since 1992 has been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today, they offer a diverse selection of new and used rock, jazz, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues, soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as T-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections and music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. Get that crap out of your house. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com and follow them on Facebook or on Instagram. That said, greetings from Las Vegas. Hey, Jeff, hope you're well, buddy. How them Golden Knights doing? All right. M. David Leeds, that's right. It's a family affair. Hey, Frederick, how are you, buddy? How's them Yankees, Frederick? Huh? All right. Nice shirt. What am I? Oh, yeah. Long Beach United represent. All my West Coast people out there. Lori Dawn, got to shout out Lori Dawn and the women of the pit. Everybody out there. There you go. What's going on with this guy right here?
What's up? What's up?
What's that? What are you doing? What are you doing over there? What is this? What are you tooting up over there?
I'm fine.
Damn. You're like Lemmy, like Lemmy. Remember the Lemmy story? Ah!
Now we can do this.
Now we can do the show.
I'm hiding out on a conductor's cab here in the yard. It's a nice chilly day in Queens.
Damn. Oh, you're at the yard down out in the what is that yard called? Is that the Flushing yard?
This is the Shea yard.
The Shea yard. That's right.
Yes, it's right next to what's Mets Willets Point.
Sure.
And if you look, well, you probably can't see through the dirty window, but is the U.S. Open is right next door.
Sure. There you go.
Dirty window panes.
Yep.
But
hey, Gina. Hey, Gina, welcome back. You know? Listen, man, I've been out of the apartment 3 times in the last week, dude. I can't imagine what it's like out there.
You're becoming agoraphobic.
Hey, our big graffiti guy, RS70. Any graffitis coming in? Any trains coming in?
No, it's been kind of quiet lately. I haven't seen any good ones, and I check over next door too because the subways get hit more than the regular trains.
Yeah, of course.
But I keep my eye out, so I'll definitely get pictures next time one shows up.
All right. What do you say? We do photo of the week, huh?
Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, all across the Andromeda system, which I heard I was wrong about. This is, in fact, not the Andromeda system.
Where are we?
Someone pointed that out to me, like, oh, we're not in the Andromeda system, dude. So Here we go. Wrong answers only. Photo of the day. Boom. Here we go. Wrong answers only, please. Photo of the day. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Let's see what we got. Is it OMG?
Oh.
Is it oh my God? Is it agoraphobic nosebleed?
That's actually a band, isn't it?
I don't know.
I believe it is.
We're agoraphobic nosebleed. All right. Is it Barry Gibb? Is it Michael McDonald? Doot, 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 doot. Is it Yes?
I think Gina knows who it is.
Is it Yes?
No.
In and around the way. Is it Charles Bukowski? Close. Not far off.
Not far off at all.
Is it Darby O'Gill? Is it Rod's cousin Todd Stewart? Is it John Joseph? All right. Is it the Pope? Is it Ozzy? Is it Toto? What was Toto's big hit? Africa?
Rosanna. Hold the line. I can go on.
Rosanna. Skink. Wow. All right. You send me a couple. Here's another one off the roll. Off the Kaiser roll, right? Here's another one. Here is another one. Boom, just like the other one. All right. Whew. These guys look like
some OGs right there.
Yeah. Is it Dude Feeling Real? Is it Hey Drew, Sorry I'm Late? Is it Bob Marley? Is it Rog, Guar Unmasked? Is that a thing? Does Guar play Unmasked as Rog?
I don't know. I know they had an album called The Ex-Cops where they weren't wearing makeup.
Right. Hold on. Here's one more.
Paulie.
And we'll get right to it. Is it? Here is. All right. Is it? Right answers only, please. Is it Weird Al Yankovic? Is it the Irish Rovers? Is it Disturbed?
There.
We're getting closer. Is it Shane MacGowan? Is it the Pope? Not bad. All right. Right answers only, please. Is it the Pogues? Is it Shane? Is it Shane MacGowan? Is it Shane MacGowan? Is it Shane MacGowan? Is it Pete the Meat? All right, Shane MacGowan.
This is the Pogues, as a matter of fact. And it's funny because someone said the Pope because he had a band called Shane and the Popes for a while too.
Right.
And but this is the Pogues, circa 2009 Roseland Ballroom. One of the March 13th, always around the week of St. Patty's Day. And in fact, Billy Bragg opened up for them on that particular tour. And a Pogue show, much like a Murphy show, like lots of drinking, lots of people jumping up and down and strangers hugging each other. And they're always a blast. And my brother and I have seen them a whole bunch of times over the years. And Shane MacGowan is really, really an interesting character. Very Bukowski, very, not much in dental work, but...
I don't think Shane MacGowan has performed in many years. He's been in a wheelchair for like a very long time now.
I think I saw them one time after this 2009 show. I think I saw them one more time after that, and I saw Shane MacGowan at the Pope and the Popes back in the day at Tramps. But I haven't seen the Pogues probably since mid 2000s, I guess.
Well, Cart Rocky was played in the Drew Stone Hit Squad.
Oh, I know, which is awesome. And
you know,
in fact, I think Spider Stacy just had a birthday.
Yeah.
And, just a really interesting band, a band that you hear every single Christmas when they play one of the best Christmas songs ever.
I got to show you something. Talking about that Christmas song, right? Here's a shot that I took when I was the stage manager at Riverview Studio in Astoria, Queens. And we had the Pogues come in and they shot that video for, what's it called?
Fairy Tale in New York?
Yo, I shot that myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I shot that picture. It's in my personal archive. They shot
awesome.
I was the stage manager for that shoot. And Matt Dillon was in that video.
Yes, he was.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just absolutely one of the all-time great Christmas songs, you know, and just a classic.
Yeah. So I actually worked with them back in the day, and then of course, here's a shot of the Drew Stone Hit Squad when Rocky, you know, when she was playing bass with us, you know.
Yeah, there she is.
You know, and when we played, we did I'm a man you don't meet every day.
That's a great song.
She sang a couple songs with us, and we were very honored to have her in the band for a while. Here's a shot of me and her outside the Neptune Diner in Astoria, and you know.
Nice shot.
Yep.
Yeah,
she's cool.
You know, it's just a great band. Really, really kind of hard to even describe the Pogues as a band. Like,
yeah,
you know, but to me, like the Rum Sodomy and the Lash album is just a masterpiece.
She was a big part of that band, man. And man, she was there for all that stuff, you know.
I imagine that girl could put down a few drinks.
Oh, not anymore. She doesn't drink anymore.
Yeah, after the Pogues, I don't blame her.
Yeah, she's good people, man. She has a show on Sirius Radio now on the U2 channel.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
we should invite her on here one of these days.
She's a very private person. Yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
Is that right? McGowan earns $750,000 a year in royalties from Fairy Tale alone.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That is shouting out Scott Earth and Silence Equals Death.
What's up, Scott?
Hey, while you're here, Stephen, before we bring our guest on, let's do the next 4 shows here.
Let's do it.
You know, something interesting is happening on this Sunday. For the first time since in almost 2 years since we've started this show, not only are we not doing this show, but there's not an A7 or Bowery Electric show because we just postponed the next one because of the situation here in New York. So this Sunday, I actually don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
Party at Drew's house.
A week from today, Gary G-Man Sullivan from Cro-Mags, Bernie Morrell, and Defunct, and amazingly, the B-52s will be on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Sunday, January 23rd, BMX legend Rick Thorne, the man who coined the word rad, will be on the show.
Is that true?
Well, he's used it a lot, man. He's a great guy. Sunday, January 30th, author, filmmaker, Mr. Stephen Blush, who wrote the book American Hardcore. This guy was a promoter in the early DC hardcore scene. He's a very, very knowledgeable music historian. It's going to be great. And then a couple days later, of course, Mark Weiss Weiss, who you happen to be a big fan of, correct?
Oh my God, yeah. He's a monster. He's an absolute, like one of the all-time great rock photographers.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, and actually, in regards to Stephen Blush, that New York rock book is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, another great. I'm really psyched about some of the guests we have coming on.
Yeah, man.
And we're really just so many great people. You want to just pick their brains, you know.
We're fortunate that the show has a nice audience and people know about it, and you know, we run a clean program here. You know what I mean? It's
approaching our 200th episode.
Who are we gonna get for 200, bro?
That's crazy. It's
I guess we could do a live show Sunday. I don't know. Like, is it make sense to whip it together and just wing a live show on Sunday? Like a bonus show? I don't know. You want to hear me bullshit on Sunday for
Let's
fucking
do
2 hours?
Let's do a walk.
A what?
Let's do a walk. Let's do a Drew Stone walk.
What do you mean? Oh, no. All right. Maybe. I mean, somebody else suggested that. Let's see. Maybe somebody wants to. Maybe we'll get Hoya to come back on and we'll just bullshit.
That would be hysterical.
All right, RS. Good to know. Good to know you're out there and you give a shit. You know. All right. All right, man. Eddie's
right,
soldier.
I'll see everybody in a little bit then.
Eddie's soldier. I'll talk to you soon.
Into the cold I go.
All right. Well, there you have it. Hardcore Shutterbug. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, Chacho's Tacos, Generation Records, and DTFM Vinyl Distro. It's a record store that specializes in underground music, punk, ska, hardcore metal, and more, located in the heart of Fargo, North Dakota's industrial district. Could you imagine how cold it is in Fargo, North Dakota right now? God have mercy. Shop in person or online at www.dtfmvinyldistro.com, where the motto is Death to False Metal. Let's clear the deck and let's bring on today's guest. Here we go. All right. Today's guest is a former booking agent and artist music manager hailing from New York City. He's known for his work with the artists Roberta Flack, Judy Collins, the Runaways, and of course, during their golden era, Blondie. Please welcome, coming at us from the Upper West Side of Manhattan, Mr. Peter Leeds. Hello.
Hi, Drew.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And you?
I am fine. Thank you for coming on the show. I am honored.
I'm honored.
Okay. How's things? How's the zombie apocalypse treating you?
One day's the same as the next.
Okay. Let's get right to it. How did you come up? Did you grow up in a musical household? How did music come into your life?
There wasn't a lot of music in our home as I was growing up. I just needed to find a way to make some money and buy independence, and found a band and became a manager. I mean, it really was chutzpah to do what I did when I did it, but that's what I did. And we played churches and temples and Knights of Columbus and crazy little dives. Went from
Hey,
there.
here's your friend Lou Davis says, "Hello, Peter, my old dear friend and partner. So great to see you."
Lou Davis is a sweetheart.
Is that
Great
right?
guy. Why? How'd you get here, Lou?
See, people
Why are
know.
you watching this?
You see, people watch, man. So, did you grew up in Mamaroneck, New York?
I did.
Is that what was that like?
It was an idyllic place to grow up.
Yeah, I would think so.
I remember, we never had helmets. We rode our bikes with no hands. We had a place called the Big Field where we played baseball or touch football or whatever. Mamaroneck was a wonderful place. My family moved there in 1946.
Wow.
We had a nice house. And I started first grade at the local public school and went there to sixth grade, and then 7, 8, and 9 in Mamaroneck Junior High, and 10, 11, 12 in Mamaroneck Senior High, and graduated. It was a wonderful place to grow up.
Must have been beautiful. I'm somewhat familiar with the area. My sister was up in Scarsdale for many years, and I can imagine in those years it must have been a really, really idyllic, like you said, beautiful place.
It was.
Yeah.
It's still pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. So was were you a music lover as a child and as a kid? Was music something that interested you, or did you just fall into it when some friends needed some management?
Yeah, I think that's right. But I'll tell you, while you were asking me the question, I remember walking down the stairs from one floor to another in junior high school when somebody told me about Alan Freed and his radio show.
Uh-huh.
And that was the first time, and it was on 1010 Wins at the time.
Sure.
This is probably 1958.
Uh-huh.
Maybe 57, something like that. And I remember tuning into Alan Freed and listening to him. And then subsequently, there was a fellow named Jack Hook, whose real name was Jack Horowitz.
Of course.
And he and a guy named Juggy Gales were record promoters traveling the country, working for record companies, promoting records. And they met Alan in Cleveland, and Jack Hook became Alan Freed's manager and represented Alan through everything. And then Alan was old and retired and what have you, got in trouble for payola.
Oh yeah, big time.
I probably shouldn't say this, but I will. Alan Freed was arrested and went to jail, all arrested. I can't remember the exact details, for payola in the days. And the guy, one of the disc jockeys at the time, whose name I won't mention, never took payola. However, he did start a bunch of businesses like pressing plants, the people who made labels for records, the people who did PR, all these legitimate businesses that this fellow owned. And every record company bought the products that this guy's company sold through him, overpaid for it. And he got rich, but very rich, but never took payola to play the records that Alan took and got into trouble for.
Isn't it safe to say that in that era, payola was just the norm in the industry for the most part?
Isn't it still?
Thank you.
It just took a different form.
Right.
Right?
Why was Alan Freed singled out?
I think he was probably at the time the most predominant.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
The one with the biggest audience. And, oftentimes criminal indictments are based on where the indictor is going to get the most bang for their buck.
Right.
I mean, why haven't Donald Trump and all of his pals who organized January 6th, nobody's gotten anything? And these little jerks who thought they were doing the right thing to invade the Capitol, I don't know. Those are questions I can't answer.
What was the first group that you got involved in, and in what capacity?
It was a band called the Orchids.
Mm-hmm.
And I became a manager just because I did everything. I mean, I booked the band. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a booking agent. I didn't drive the truck, but I did have people who did that. I did have roadies that schlepped the stuff around. But I did everything.
Now the orchids,
like the flower.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the orchids, right? I have a little bit of clip of a little clip to play, but the orchids kind of got in on the twist craze, correct?
Well, when we began, they would play everything from Johnny Be Good to Bo Diddley to whatever. But when the twist happened, there was a place in New York called the Peppermint Lounge, and Joey D and the Starlighters were the headliner. And I was able to get my band as the second act to play there when Joey D was, I think there was a black drummer and a black organ player, and 3 white guys
Mhm.
in the band.
And this is the original Peppermint Lounge here. I think it was it 46th Street? Something.
Yeah, it was 40 something between, not
Yeah.
47, probably 46, 44, something between 5th and 6th Avenue, as I remember.
Sure.
And it was little. I mean,
Right.
it was probably the same size as, maybe smaller than CBGB's. Long, narrow entryway from the street to the
Sure.
back, and then opened out like the bitter end does.
Got it.
And an elevated stage, and a guy named Morris Levy.
Well, the infamous Morris Levy from Roulette Records, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
He owned Birdland. He owned
Right.
this supper club on the east side called the Round Table. And Morris decided that what he was going to do, he was going to he's going to promote the Twist on Sundays. Because during the week, it was a supper club with jazz and what have you. And he hired me, or he hired the band to play the Sunday shows. And it was packed, limousines and all the rest of that nonsense. And then he decided that he would do it 7 nights. And we really were filling the club. And one day I decided that I had to have a talk with Morris because he had to pay us more money. And I knew where he lived. He lived in a building called the Sentry on Central Park West. So I left the Round Table, which was 50th Street between 2nd and 3rd. I got in a cab. I was really riled up because he didn't pay us enough. And I told the driver where I wanted to go, and I got out and I went in and I said to the doorman that I was here to see Morris. And he called up and he said, "Mr. Levy, there's a young man to see you." Morris asked who, and doorman asked me my name. I went up, and Morris let me come up. So I went up and I rang his apartment door, and he answered the door in his boxer shorts and his T-shirt. And he was in bed talking to his soon-to-be wife. Her name was Noam. And she and Morris had a son named Adam Levy, who I believe does something in the music business today. So Morris is in bed talking to his wife in Florida. And he tells me to sit down in this chair in his bedroom. And I sit there. He doesn't rush through his call, I promise you. And when he gets off the phone, Morris has kind of voice. Why am I there? And I said, "Morris, you've got to pay us more money because we're filling the club, blah, 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 blah." And he listens, and then he looks me in the face and he says, "I'm going to tell you 2 things. One is, don't count another man's money. And 2 is, get the fuck out of here." And I did. And we didn't get any more money. And we kept playing there and filling the place. Morris Levy was a great guy. He was a hoodlum.
He was a notorious hoodlum. I mean,
yeah.
Notorious.
He was arrested. He owned Strawberry's Records chain.
I have it in my notes. I worked at a Strawberry's record store as a college kid in Boston. He owned Strawberry's record store. He was a founding partner in Birdland. He, quote unquote, a notorious crook who swindled artists out of their owed royalties. He falsely took writing credit in order to receive royalties.
He wrote "Why Do Fools Fall in Love?"
He wrote it.
Yes. You look at the label copy; it'll say Morris Levy.
He falsely took credit in order enriching himself at the expense of his many signed artists, especially black artists. I think the big artist that he really railed was Tommy James and the Shondells.
Well, Tommy James wrote a book about it.
Yeah, right. That was a real. That was. Hey, let's play a little bit of this. This is the Orchids doing.
All right, now this is it. Twisting round the table.
It's a hit. I love it. This is great. It's great. And of course, like we said, on the Roulette label, which was his label, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
he was a hoodlum. He killed people. He was once arrested because he and some of his pals went and beat some guy that owed him money with a baseball bat. But I tell you something, I liked him. But I was in his office one day. He had an office on the second floor of a building on the corner of 50th Street and 7th Avenue. And his whole east wall was windows looking out on 7th Avenue. And he and I were talking about, I don't know, the club and the band or whatever. And the sun was coming and he reached over under his credenza and flipped a switch and the blinds closed. It's some kind of a motorized blind thing that closed the blinds. And I said, I'm really fucking impressed. And here I am, maybe 20 years old, maybe 19 years old. I'm talking to a notorious mafiosa person who snapped his finger and have my neck snapped. And I'm telling him I'm fucking impressed because he's got an electric motor that closes his blinds. I mean, what was I thinking?
Well, there was definitely an infrastructure to the music business back then, right? I mean, it was a lot of people today just can't even wrap their head around the music business and what it was like back then. It was a totally different world than we have now with Spotify and record your record on your computer and put it up on Bandcamp and all that. It was
I wouldn't know how to do it today. I mean, if I went to CBGB's tonight to see Blondie, I wouldn't have no idea what I would do tomorrow.
Right.
I have a friend who's got a daughter who plays guitar and sings and writes songs and what have you. He's a music business lawyer. I don't know how he'll ever make a successful career for her.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not making the judgment that she's talented enough to be successful or not, but I just don't know how you would break an act today. I don't understand it. I just don't know.
I can relate. Once in a while, somebody asks me about, the film business. And the film business that I grew up in with my dad as a director and doesn't exist anymore. I sort of exist outside the film business, with what I do. And things change. Things in the music business and the film business, it seemed like they stayed the same for a long time, but there's been a lot of changes, We're gonna skip around a little bit, and because to eventually make our way to Blondie. But I know we're taking a big skip here. But I want to ask you about this individual, and that's Sid Bernstein. Recollections on Sid Bernstein and from back in the day.
Sid Bernstein is one of the nicest human beings that's ever walked the earth. He's just a sweet, nice man. He was kind to everybody. He was generous to everybody. He was a professional. They don't make Sid Bernsteins that often anymore. He was just a nice man.
Can you tell the story about how you met him initially?
Yes. I went to he was promoting the Beatles at Shea Stadium. And I went to his office to pick up tickets for Peggy, my wife at the time, and I to go to the Beatles at Shea Stadium. Mm-hmm. So I walk into this office, and there's a guy there who actually got me my tickets named Phil Leshin, who was in the PR business and helping Sid. And it's a madhouse. I mean, it's a week or 2 weeks before the Beatles are at Shea Stadium. I don't remember exactly. And Phil Leshin says to Sid Bernstein, Sid, I want you to meet my dear friend Peter Leeds. And Sid was, hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. We shook hands. And that was it. I got my tickets, said goodbye, paid for them. I don't remember what they cost. Paid for them and left. And then, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months later, I can't remember. I'm walking down 7th Avenue, summertime, and there's a hot dog stand that has a window onto the street. So you can buy a hot dog and an egg cream from the street and eat your hot dog. And I'm walking down the street, and there's Sid having a hot dog and an egg cream. And he sees me and remembers me and calls me by name.
Huh.
I mean, I was so insignificant. The fact that Sid would remember my face and my name and call out to me. So I stopped and we chatted. And then, about the kid there was a kid who sang off 72nd Street in Central Park with his back to the lake. Every Sunday there would be this young man with a guitar and sing cover songs.
Right.
And Sid was always there on Sunday. I'd often walk over and tell him hello. This is many years later. This is not 1964. 1964. No, this is 80s or 90s. I can't remember. But anyway, it was after we moved here in 71. So it was after that. But a nice man.
Yeah, I told you I'm friends with his son and Adam Bernstein, and he's a beloved character. And you told me that do you remember one of the only other people that sort of had that kindness and recollection of people's names? Do you remember who else he told me?
No. Wait a second. Yes, I do remember.
Yeah.
This person is Dick Clark.
Yeah.
Dick Clark has the same talent for meeting you once and remembering your name.
Right.
Dick Clark was not the sweet, lovable man
Right.
that Mercy was. There's similarities and there's differences.
Right. Got it. Let's talk a little bit about now. And I know that we're skipping around quite a bit, but you worked for the booking agent Bob Astor, right?
Yes.
What was the roster like, and who did you book in that era?
Well, Bob's most famous client was Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
But when I worked for Bob, Chuck Berry was in jail. And I remember one day while I worked there, I answered the phone and an operator said, "We have a collect call for anyone from Chuck Berry."
And why was Chuck Berry in jail at this point?
He was in jail because he had taken a white woman,
Ooh,
maybe young,
ooh,
across the Missouri state line.
Missouri.
Yeah, and gotten arrested and went to jail.
Ooh.
But I remember he was calling collect the day he got out of jail, and I answered the phone. I said, "Bob, it's Chuck Berry for you. Collect." Take the call. Anyway, we represented Clarence Frogman Henry, Barbara Lynn, Barbara Lewis, Gary U.S. Bonds.
Oh, wow.
Major Lance.
Jimmy Soul.
Jimmy Soul.
Yep.
Oh,
by the way, Mantle says the park musician was David Ippolito. Is that right?
I have no idea. I'm not sure I ever knew his name.
Yeah, okay.
But he had a wonderful, he worked for people throwing money in his guitar case.
Sure. He's like a busker, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. But he was very good and people really, they'd come out and sit on it was a sort of like a natural incline in this part of the park where it made like a natural amphitheater slope. Sure. And, lots of people would just sit there Sunday afternoon for a couple hours or an hour and give him a few bucks and listen to him sing, nice songs.
Let's talk about this act that you were involved in. This would be Every Mother's Son, is that right?
Yes.
What can you give us the background on this?
So the kid in the M sweater and the one to his over his right shoulder were brothers, Dennis and Larry Larden. Their real name was Sorokin. And the guy on the far right,
two Jewish kids.
two Jewish kids from Brooklyn who were folk
Nice.
singers. And I met them or found them in the bitter end.
Oh, wow.
And signed them. And then the guy on the right is named Skylar Larson, and the guy with his elbow on Dennis's shoulder is Christopher Augustine. And the guy on the far left is Bruce Milner. Bruce is a dentist today in New York City.
Nice.
That was the last I heard.
Huh.
Chris was the drummer and a would-be movie star. Dennis and Larry were brothers folk singers. And what we did was we built a little pop music band. My concept was that they would sing positive songs about everything that was good, not all that was bad. And I sold it to MGM. This cover photo was taken by Linda Eastman.
Oh, wow. Paul McCartney's wife.
Paul McCartney's first wife.
Sure.
Linda Eastman was a fairly young photographer at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that photograph in Central Park.
Wow.
And I really sold MGM a bill of goods on what nice, clean cut and positive image kids they were. And they were at the time.
I kind of get a sense like a Beach Boys kind of sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you have any of their music on your thing?
I don't.
Well, Come On Down to My Boat, Baby.
Right.
Was a fairly important summer song. This was probably summer 66 or 67.
Mm-hmm.
67, I think. And you can still hear it every now and then in the summertime. Come on. Wes Farrell wrote it and produced it. Come on down to my boat, baby.
And what spelled the demise for these guys?
They decided that they were going to give in to the criticism of the bands they toured with, who had long hair and beards and wore beads and frayed jeans. And they didn't want to be nice, clean cut kids anymore. They wanted to be dirty hippies.
Oh boy. There has to be a balance, but there has to be a balance in the universe, right? Everybody can't be dirty hippies, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I sold MGM, and MGM. We actually, you remember there was a TV show called The Man from U.N.C.L.E.? That was an MGM TV show, and we actually flew to Los Angeles and had a part in one of the episodes of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And you got the key to the city of Cincinnati with that wonderful art.
Why not?
Well, that's where the record Come On Down to My Boat broke in Cincinnati. And we went there and did a radio show, and
I love it. That's when you could pay the independent promo guy, right? He would go to Cincinnati and he would break the record in Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
That's great. Changing gears a little bit. Here's a question from Mike Egan. I know this is. Can Peter tell us anything about Nathan Smith from the documentary Sunshine Hotel? In the movie, he mentions being a singer-musician in the 60s or 70s. He says Peter was his manager and he was performing at the Playboy Club. Any recollection of that?
I remember Nathan Smith very well.
Wow.
I remember. I never saw the movie, nor did I know that Nathan was in it. He was a very nice man.
I saw the movie.
And a good artist, but I just couldn't get anybody to pay attention or listen.
Happens, right?
I tell you something. In my quote unquote career, I really have represented some wonderful people who I thought were extremely talented and was able to get zero success for them. And I don't think they were any less talented than people who are enormously successful. I don't think I worked any less hard or was any dumber than I was when I was successful. I just think, the stars need to align.
Of course.
You need to find that person that the record company believes. You need to find that booking agent that believes and is going to, knock on the right door to help you and help them. I mean, no manager does it alone. No artist does it alone. Artists who are successful think it's because of their brilliance and genius and good looks, except when they fail, it's the manager's fault,
right.
It's the agent's fault, it's the record company's fault,
right.
It's everybody's fault.
It's the producer's
Success,
fault, right?
What do they say? Success has no parents and failure or whatever.
Right. Well, I think we're going to get to that in a little bit, and just to foreshadow a little bit, I think that when you connected Blondie with Mike Chapman, that was that was a real important connection, and that really put them over the hump. But I think that's one of those sort of instances where you have to get all the right pieces. Yeah, Nathan was the manager in resident for over 20. I saw the film. It's a pretty sad, disturbing film about the last sort of flop house on the Bowery. But let's make a jump here. Chris Harnett says, while managing Roberta Flack, did he have any interaction with Donny Hathaway? Great talent, but tortured.
I met Donny and saw him perform a few times, but I suspect if he was alive and you said to him, blah, 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 Peter Leeds, he'd have no recollection.
Right.
And my interaction with him was limited.
Could you give us any really nice recollection on a nice memory of working with Roberta Flack? Is there something good there?
Well, the first time I ever heard Roberta was when I walked into the recording studio, and she was in the middle of recording the first time I ever saw your face.
Wow.
And I just, sat down in the recording studio. Joel Dorn was producing the record.
Didn't Les McCann discover Roberta Flack?
Yes. I represented Les.
Oh, I see.
And I made his record deal at Atlantic. I convinced him to do the Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland and to record the album with Eddie Harris called Swiss Movement.
Mm-hmm.
Wes didn't want to do the festival because he didn't think he got enough billing, high enough billing, or made enough money. Didn't like Eddie Harris, didn't want to do the record. And it was one of those things where, I really had to sell him on doing it. And it's the biggest success he ever had in his life.
Right.
Compared to what? Anybody who doesn't know compared to what, Google it and listen to it and listen to the Swiss Movement album that he did with Eddie Harris. But it was one of those things where I knew it was the right thing to do, and I was able to convince him.
Here it is right here. Here's the cover right here, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
Nice.
But artists think they know better than everybody. I know a lot of people like that. They think they're the smartest person in every room. Anyway.
Okay. The other thing, let's jump to this, because this is a foreshadowing to things to come. This is The Wind in the Willows. Could you tell us a little bit about this?
Paul Klein, who's the guy with the beard in the front, had this idea for this band. And his sister-in-law, I think it was, died, starved herself to death, not deliberately, on a macrobiotic diet.
Oh, my.
And Christgau, who at the time worked for the Village Voice,
Robert Christgau,
covered the story.
Mm-hmm.
So Klein, who died a year or two ago, promotes Christgau to come and see this project that he's put together. And it was Paul played guitar, Wayne Kirby, the guy behind him on the right, played a stand-up bass. That's Deborah Harry to the left of Wayne with the dark hair.
That's Deborah Harry with brown hair, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. A brunette.
The guy to the left of Deborah Harry is named Anton Carrisford. He was the drummer. The guy with the glasses is Steve DePhillips. He was the bass player. And the person on the left, Peter Britton, was the lead guitar player. And Ida Andrews is the woman whose head is sort of facing Paul Klein's ribs. She played the bassoon and the harp. So there's these 7 people that are playing this Baroque folk, I don't know what you call it.
Sort of like hippy-dippy, Baroque folk, sort of groovy-woovy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
So Paul promotes Christgau. Christgau calls this wonderful person named Dominic Cecilia. Dominic and I go to see them, and I rent this loft space on 27th Street and put them in the loft, and then I take Artie Kornfeld to see them. And Kornfeld makes a big deal, I mean, a really giant money deal at the time, signs them to Capitol. Kornfeld got his job at Capitol through Charlie Koppelman. Some of these names are not going to mean anything to most people watching the show, but these were all...
Charles Koppelman is a legend.
Yes, but when I knew him, he was Charlie.
Right.
He wasn't Charles. He was Charlie and Donnie, Koppelman and Rubin. Anyway, Koppelman got Kornfeld a job at Capitol. Kornfeld gave me this giant deal of money and made a horrible record. Just horrible.
Now, didn't Artie Kornfeld produce this record?
Yes, Artie Kornfeld produced.
Yeah,
the head of A&R produced this band.
Right.
And it was just awful. It was virtually unlistenable.
Now,
but we thought it was great at the time.
Of course.
But in retrospect.
Right. Now, this was your first interaction with Debbie Harry, correct?
Correct. Yeah, she was very shy, had brown hair. The band only performed a few times, but when they performed, she would sort of be hiding behind somebody. Very quiet. I mean, if you've ever seen a Blondie show, you do 180 degrees from what Deborah Harry was in Blondie, and that's what you get Deborah Harry in The Wind in the Willows.
Paulie's asking, what year was that? Was that 71, 72?
What, The Wind in the Willows?
Yeah.
No. I think The Wind in the Willows was more like 67. Oh,
let me look it up. It was
67, I would think 68.
Huh. It's still out there. It's still out there. Yeah. Not sure. 68, you're right. Wow, I didn't realize it would go, wow. She was young. Yeah. Yeah, Philip says 68. Okay, that makes sense. Now, the Artie Kornfeld connection, of course, he ended up partnering up with Michael Lang, who passed away recently, and he was a big part of the Woodstock festival.
Yes.
Which I guess was the next year after the record.
Right. Yeah, Artie, and I mean, you know, in Michael's obituary in today's Times, there's a line that said that they were hoping to sell 50,000 tickets.
Right.
I think the tickets were $8 for a day.
Right.
And 3-day tickets for $25 or $20 or something. And it said they were hoping to sell 50,000 tickets. I tell you, Michael Lang knew. It was Michael's conception. And he knew what was going to happen. He knew that they were going to have that massive thing, but he couldn't. If he had said, we're going to have 500,000 people come to your town,
it would have got shut down.
Right. And they had to move it, I think, a couple of times from where they were originally going to promote. The first site is not where it ended up.
Right.
And Michael Lang knew, but was smart enough to keep his mouth shut so that the event could happen. And,
Yep.
and you know, I went to them and said, make it the music and art fair and let me sell the fences to hang art on.
Right.
And we got all these people to pay. I forget what we sold the fence, but we sold it by the foot.
You were selling fence space.
Yeah. A guy named Howard Hirsch and myself made the deal to do that. So they gave me the fence and Howard and I sold it. And then, of course, none of the people who bought the fence could get there. Plus
because
the fact that
because of the traffic, because of just the
craziness.
Yeah.
The throughway was blocked and everything was shut down, and then the rain.
Sure.
David, my son David, was a year old, and he and Peggy and I went up there, drove up, had a hotel, and I think David and Peggy stayed in the hotel the whole 3 days, and I was at the site until I decided I got to get us out of here because I didn't know what was going to happen. In retrospect, it was all peace and love, and I got Peggy and David and myself on a plane out of there.
Did you see a bunch of the performers?
Oh, yeah. I saw a bunch of it. Anybody
really stand out?
It was so crazy.
Yeah, I bet. That's why I bet. It looked to me like to a certain contingent of people, it was just survival. Just had to survive it.
Well, yeah, I mean, they didn't have enough facilities for anything.
Right.
And while Peggy and I had a hotel room, David was an infant, I still thought the better part of where I should go next was to get us out of there.
So you got out before?
I mean, I was at the site for a day or two, but then I got us out of there, maybe early Sunday.
The thing went till Monday morning. Jimi Hendrix played Monday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Let me take a sponsor break and shout out my sponsors, and let's come back and let's get into some Blondie, okay?
Sure.
Okay. Well, there you have it. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles live, worldwide live. Today's guest, we are honored to have Mr. Peter Leeds on the show today, and we're going to get into some Blondie. We are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Reel, the Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, and located in Corpus Christi, Texas, Chacho's Tacos opened their doors in 2001, home of the almighty Chacho's Taco. They cook up an incredible home-style Tex-Mex food, and this year they're celebrating their 20th anniversary. Goddamn electric. They've been supporting underground music since the beginning, and in their own words, we ain't stopping anytime soon. Touring bands that play Corpus Christi, swing by and get a home-cooked meal at Chacho's Tacos. We got you. The underground scene will never die. Please follow us on Facebook or on Instagram. Come on now, New York Hardcore Comics. Opened in 2013, selling comic books, punk rock and hardcore memorabilia, toys, statues, skateboard decks, tapes, vinyl, and all things horror. We love helping bands push their demos and new tracks, so please stop by and drop off your new music. We have in-store events like Magic the Gathering and Warhammer tournaments, plus meet and greets with some live performances. Open 7 days a week and shipping worldwide. Find us online through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and eBay, located at 117 Main Street in lovely Dobbs Ferry, New York. www.newyorkhardcorecomics.com. Hey, those out there that are wondering, how can I support this show? There is a Patreon page. And there it is. There is a Patreon page. Patreon is our community within our community. And this is how people can support this show. This is like Channel 13. It's your kindness and donations is what keeps this show going. And thankfully, this show has a great audience and great people and a lot of people on Patreon. I want to mention, too, this is out now. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles, Volume 1, 1980 to 1989, a flyer or oral history. If you are a patron, the book is free. Boom. Every book is numbered and signed. This happens to be the second pressing. There's like 30 books left. So if you're a patron, join Patreon. I want to shout out my new patrons, Marla Standing Owl, Duran Hayes, Mary Ohm, and Paul Bayford. Thank you for your support. The book can be, if you don't want to join Patreon and you're a Hatreon, the book is available at www.stonefilmsnyc.com. So there you go. Want to mention a couple of upcoming shows. Here we go. Couple of upcoming shows. The legend himself, Mr. Ed Culver, is going to be on the show on Wednesday, February 9th. Mr. Ed Culver will be on. Of course, he took the Black Flag Damage record cover, photographer, TSOL, Bad Religion, Circle Jerks, Group Sex. Sunday, February 13th, my homegirl Doro Pesh is on the show. All you metal kids. All right. Sunday, February 20th, Mike Gurnari from Madball. Set It Off will be on the show. So everybody can come and set it off. And then on Sunday, February 27th, Mr. Kevin Castle Scandato. It's the 20-year reunion of Castle Heights, a.k.a. Castle Fights. Want to make sure everybody's behaving themselves. Hey, yo, Drew, who was book number one? Who was book number one in the first printing was Davey Hooligan from Enziguri, who was one of my first patrons, an incredible supporter of the show. Davey Hooligan got book number one of the first pressing. And I think I sent Roger Moret from Agnostic Front book number 2. So there you go. If you are a patron and you do not have the book, fucking reach out to me. What are you waiting for? What else? I think I covered. Also, if you're watching the show in repeat, there is a subscribe button there. Please subscribe to the show so you get the alerts. Also, there is a merch line underneath there. Perhaps you want the New York Hardcore mug or the shower curtain or the t-shirt. Go check out some of the merch. Don't be shy. Support the show. Yeah, you better be cool with Davey and Roger getting the first 2, bro. You know? That said, yeah, Castle Heights, it's coming down. There it is at www.stonefilmsnyc.com. Let me clear the deck. Let's bring our guest back on. Mr. Peter Leeds. Hi. Here you are. So let's get into the Blondie bit a bit. How did Blondie come into your orbit? How did you get exposed to them?
So I knew Deborah Harry from The Wind in the Willows.
Uh-huh.
And when I was growing up in Mamaroneck, as you started the show with, there was a local veterinarian named Maurice Serling. And he was the vet. My family always had dogs. He was our local vet. And his son, Joe Serling, went to high school. He was a bit younger than me. I think he was probably my sister's age. But I knew Joe, and he became he's currently an enormously successful music business attorney.
Okay.
And at the time, he worked for a company called Private Stock as their in-house counsel. And he invited me to a Christmas party at his house downtown. So Peggy and the boys were at our house in the country. I was in the city alone. It was Christmas time, obviously. And the weather was lousy and I wasn't going to go. And then I told myself to get off my ass and go to this Christmas party. So I went to the Christmas party. I walk in. The first person I meet is Richard Goddard. Now, I knew Richard Goddard for years. He'd come to my mother's house. When I started with the Orchids, they used to rehearse in the basement of my mother's house.
In Mamaroneck.
My mother crazy. So I would have people coming to the house to try to get them to sign the Orchids, produce their music and what have you. Richard Goddard was in business with a guy named Bob Feldman. They were co-producers and co-songwriters, Bob Feldman and Richard Goddard. And they came to my mother's house to see the Orchids in the basement. So I knew Richard from, the 50s. And so I go to Joe Serlin's party and Richard's there. And I had been reading about about Blondie. I didn't know Deborah Harry was in the band, but Blondie had started to have some success in New York downtown at what was that joint? CBGB's and
Gildersleeves?
No.
Max's?
Max, Kansas City.
Come on now.
So I knew about Blondie, and I meet Richard, and he said, blah, 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 I've got a band, and they need a manager, and I said, well, I'm looking for something to do. And about 15 minutes later, at the same party, I met Deborah Harris. She was there with the band because they were signed to Private Stock.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the same conversation with her. I make a date. We live on 75th Street, Central Park. Richard lived on 77th Street between Central Park and Columbus. And he invites me to come around the corner to his house and hear the music the next morning.
Now, if I may interject here,
the
first Blondie record was released, of course, on Private Stock Records, correct?
Right.
Okay, so this record was already out at this point, correct?
No, I think it was momentarily to be released.
Okay.
So I walk around the corner to Richard's house the next morning. He plays me the music. I like the music. And he tells me how to find the band. And I had an office at the time on Madison Avenue and 52nd Street. They came to the office and we talked, blah, 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 blah. And one day Deborah Harry called up. I told you this story yesterday. One day Deborah Harry calls me and said that she's been nominated to call and tell me they're not going to make a management deal with me because they're going to make a deal with Sid.
With Sid Bernstein.
Right.
The guy, we love Sid Bernstein.
We do love Sid Bernstein.
But
at that point, it was me or Sid. And the truth of the matter is, as wonderful as Sid is, he wasn't a great manager. And Sid is too nice. Sid wouldn't have made Blondie successful because Sid wouldn't have gotten into Larry Utah's face. Larry Utah owned Private Stock.
Right.
The way I did. I mean, I had an argument with private stock virtually every day from the time I signed the band till the time I got them out of there.
Right.
And when I signed the band, I called Donnie Kirshner, who had a TV show, Donnie Kirshner's Rock Concerts.
Of course.
And I said,
Of course.
Donnie, I just signed the band. They're going to be enormously successful. You got to do me a solid and put the band on your show. And he said, I'm sorry, Peter, I can't do it. I finished taping for the year.
Ooh.
And I said, Donnie, I really need this, blah, 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 blah. Finally, he agrees. And he says, I'm going to California on Tuesday to do intros and exits, because he didn't produce anything. It was all videos. And all he did was say, hey, now I want to let you see that. So he says to me that if I can get him a tape by Tuesday of the next week, he'll edit it into one of the shows. I said, deal.
Here we go. Here comes the great moment.
So
It's
I
coming.
hang up.
I feel it.
This is a wonderful story. I hang up. I call Larry Utall, who owns the record company, and I need to speak to him. He's out of the country. Well, where is he? He's in Europe. Tell me how to find him. No. Who can I talk to? Nobody. I need some money to make some videos. Donnie Kirshner's going to put the band on his TV show.
Yeah.
I need videos.
Help me help you, for Christ's sake, right?
Yeah. Can't help you. So I get Joe Serwin on the phone. Joe said, Peter, I'd love to help you. I can't. I said, well, if I pay for it, will you reimburse me? He said, I can't authorize that. So, okay, I paid for it. Steven Sprouse made a backdrop, who ultimately became the person who made a lot of Deborah's clothes. Bob Gruen was there, the photographer helping. Dominic Cecilia, who I talked to you about the other day, brilliant, was there. And Gruen, Dominic, myself, and this for hire video studio made 3 videos of the band. So Larry Utall comes back from his vacation in Europe, and he takes me to lunch at the Friars Club.
The
And he
Friars
tells
Club?
me that I have to stop abusing his people. I said, well, you'd spend some fucking money and help me break this band. I wouldn't have to abuse your people. So anyway, I said, so the videos cost me about $3,000. Will you give me the money? He said, no. But give me the videos. I said, no. Then I said to myself, why did I just spend this $3,000? So I give him the videos, of course. He duplicates them. He sends them around the world. And the #1 video show in Australia plays the record, plays the video. And we wind up with a #1 record in Australia, except they played the wrong track. So the track they were supposed to play was the first single in America, Ex Offender.
Right.
The track they played,
In the Sun?
In the Sun.
I'm downloading it right now so we can look at it. Give me.
Okay.
We'll take a peek at it in a minute. Yeah.
You're going to download the video or the track?
No, I got the Don Kirshner thing. It's downloading right now.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
anyway, Australia plays it. We wind up with a hit record in Australia.
So that's
No.
where the band. So that's where the band initially broke, was, of all places, Australia.
Well, England was huge for Blondie,
Right.
and also there's an American disc jockey at a radio station in Los Angeles.
Is that Rodney? Rodney?
Rodney Bingenheimer.
Yeah. Come on. Here we go. Here we go. Right here. Here it is.
Watch the video. That's the backdrop that Steven Sprouse made.
Okay, I get it. That's
See that,
great.
the guy in the orange shirt that just cruised by
Yeah,
in the beginning? That's Gary Valentine,
he
the
was
guy
the
that I threw out
original.
of the band.
Right there. Hold on.
Yeah,
Right there.
yeah, because Jimmy Destry played this little funky Italian farfisa organ, and Gary Valentine insisted on doing the pogo. And every time he would jump up and down, Jimmy's farfisa would likely go out of tune, and I couldn't get him to stop. So then, and also, he didn't understand why he wasn't equally as important as Deborah Harry.
Oh, here's that. There he is. That's it happening. Yeah. It looks like it's happening right there. He's pogoing and he's trying to hold his keyboard together. That's funny.
So anyway, we're in the Whiskey A Go-Go one night, and he played the bass guitar, and you know the tuning pegs on the bass guitar are giant.
Yeah.
I'm standing in the back of the Whiskey. Deborah Harry's doing her number, singing the songs. He's doing his number, jumping around. And I'm telling you, Drew, the tuning peg from his bass came within inches of putting out her eye. I mean, how he missed her eye, or how her eye missed that tuning peg. And I fired him that night. I gave him the airplane ticket and sent him home. Because I said, we got lucky tonight. We won't get lucky a second.
And that was it for Gary Valentine?
Yep.
And yeah, I've seen that go bad, actually.
Yeah. Well,
I've actually seen it with my own eyes. I saw Henry Rollins from Black Flag get hit in the back of the head with a tuning peg, and he got cut right open, right on stage. It was a massacre. Yeah. Yeah,
you can't, you know, that's an instrument as in instrument.
Yeah. It's a weapon, actually.
Yes.
Let's talk about the next record after that was Plastic Letters, and you orchestrated getting them off Private Stock. How did that, which was the great feat? How did that happen?
Well, Larry and I knew Larry Utah long before Blondie. I mean, I knew Larry Utah probably from the 60s. You know, I was always hustling an act and trying to get a record deal. And Larry was a very nice man. But he didn't have any money. He wasn't well funded. And I'm not sure he believed in the band. And Richard Goddard is a nice man also, but not an aggressive fellow, not a pushy Jew, which I am. Anyway, so I'd be on the phone with Larry trying to get him to do something, and he wouldn't do it. And we'd have an argument and we'd hang up. And so when they were in the studio making this record.
Now this record was done as a 4-piece, correct?
No, it was. No.
Oh, I think
Gary's not in the picture, but there was Jimmy played the keyboards, Clem was the drummer, Debbie, Chris, and Gary, 5.
Okay.
So I call Larry Utah, I make an appointment, I go over to see him, and they're in the studio. And I said, Larry, I wanted to talk with you about how we're going to market the record. And he said, it's none of your business. I said, Larry, I manage the band.
It's none of your business.
It is my business. I'm not here to argue with you about money. I just want to talk about where we're going to put the money that you're going to ultimately be willing to spend. And yeah, I know, it's none of your business. I said, listen, you know something? This is not going to work. Let me buy you out of the deal. He said, it's not for sale.
So in other words, let me buy Blondie out of the Private Stock contract.
Exactly right.
Capisce.
And I said, Larry, everything's for sale. It's just a question of money. So he said, let me think about it. And I think this happened on a Thursday or a Friday.
Uh-huh.
And we'll talk on Monday. So Monday, of course, I'm on his phone. And I go over to see him again. And he says he wants $1 million. I remember,
and this is $1 million. And wait, this is $1 million in 1976 money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I promise you, in your life, when you get to be my age, there'll be conversations that you've had that you remember word for word. This is one of them. I said, Larry, it's not the fucking Rolling Stones. They've sold 17,000 records. They've entertained, 100,000 people? And you want $1 million? Ultimately, we agreed on 400,000. And I said, well, what am I going to do with Richard? And he said, I'll take care of Richard. Not he'll pay him. He'll make sure that, because we're not signed to private stock, we're signed to private stock through Richard's production company.
You signed a production deal with him.
No. They had signed the production deal with Richard before me.
I see.
So I inherited it.
A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know about that. That's almost, I don't see that's a foregone concept, but when a band signs a production deal before they sign a record deal,
right?
Yeah.
So the band's in the recording studio, a place called Plaza Sound
in Radio City, right?
In Radio City, yeah.
Sure.
So I go over there, and Richard's in the control room. I go into the recording booth. There's a pretty large recording booth. And so the five of them and I was there. And I said, I just made a deal to buy you out of private stock.
Woo!
And they're just mortified. And I said, don't worry, it'll all be fine. And then I go and I talk to Richard, and I tell him, which he must have known because he was probably listening to the conversation in the sound booth. And he said, well, if you're going to buy out of Larry, buy out of me too. I said, right on. And we agreed on $100,000 for Richard. So 500 all in.
Wow.
And part of Richard's was recoupable and part of it was not. And it was 60-40, and I can't remember which part was recoupable.
Wow.
So then I had to go find the $500,000 because I didn't have $500,000.
Wow. $500,000 in 1976.
Yeah.
Whew.
I found it.
Would that be, that would be Electra?
No, Chrysalis.
Chrysalis. I'm sorry.
Carrie Ellis.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My bad. Chrysalis. Right.
And the rest is history.
And Plastic Letters was the first record on Chrysalis proper, right?
Well, yeah, except when we did the deal to ultimately pay the money and sign the deal to buy out of Richard and private stock, part of the deal was that Terry got the first album as well. Larry had to stop selling the first album, and it was reissued on Chrysalis.
Not in retrospect, not great, right? Because once the band hit it, of course, it pulls the whole catalog up, right?
Yes.
Now, so that gets rolling, and I want to skip to this, which is Parallel Lines.
Let me tell you about this.
But well, hold on. I have another picture here of you in the recording studio, and because I think this is just such a big part of this whole saga here. Here's a shot of you in the recording studio on the right there, the band, and would that be producer Mike Chapman in front of the board?
Yeah, with the sunglasses.
So if you could weave in the importance and how Mike Chapman comes into play here on Parallel Lines at some point.
But let me just tell you,
please.
This lineup next to me is Frank Infante.
Yeah.
Who
Frank the Freak
to the band as the bass player when I fired Gary Valentine, who subsequently became the lead guitar player.
Right. And that's
then
Nigel. That's Nigel Harrison next to him.
Yes, Deborah Harry next. Nigel Harrison. I went to dinner on successive nights in Los Angeles at the Hamburger Heaven on Sunset. First with Frank and me, and then with Nigel and me, to convince them to join the band.
Now, Nigel, if I remember correctly, because we had a gentleman, Michael DeBar, on the show.
Right.
He was in
Heels, right?
He was in Silverhead.
Silverhead.
Yeah, with Michael DeBar. He was in that band for years before he joined Blondie.
I stole him.
Yeah. We love Michael DeBar. He's a dear friend of the shows.
I'm not sure I ever met Michael.
Nigel
Harrison's one of the really swell people.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. This group, Frank Infante, Nigel Harrison, Clem Burke, for me, are wonderful people. Wonderful. Rock and rollers, don't want hassles, just want to play music and have. Mm-hmm. I'm very fond of those three.
I'm a big fan of Clem Burke's drumming. He's a
phenomenal drummer. And you know what? I'll tell you something else. Clem Burke didn't write any of Blondie's songs as a writer, but Clem Burke made every one of them better because he's got an encyclopedia in his brain for pop music.
Yeah.
And while he's not a songwriter, he comes up with bits and pieces that makes every song better. Now, this is important. This album cover, Philip has my drawing of this album cover. I'm in Los Angeles with a woman named Adrienne Lowe, who, with a woman named Sherry Rainey, worked for Chrysalis on their album covers. These guys so dislike one another at the time. I know I cannot put these six people together in a photograph that's usable.
That's unbelievable.
Adrienne Lowe and I had dinner, and she has a little two-seater sports car. We're driving back to my hotel on Sunset. And I said, and it was Deborah Harry's idea. The album title, Parallel Lines, was her idea. And I said to Adrienne, I know how to do this cover. And she takes me, I'm staying at the Sunset Marquee. She takes me to the Sunset Marquee, and I get a piece of letterhead and I draw the cover for her. And she likes it. And I go back to New York and we hire a photographer, I don't remember who, and each of these pictures were done individually. I told
Is that right? Every one of these people was shot individually?
Yes. And
that
then they
incredible.
Them together. And you asked Philip to dig out the drawing I made. It's exactly this, including the way they hand lettered Blondie up there, except my Blondie was on a slant. It was the most expensive album cover Chrysalis ever made, because stripping this together like this.
Wow.
And
there was no Photoshop. There was no Photoshop back then, right? No, this had to be done the old-fashioned way in the art department of the record label, right?
Yeah. It was all shot on white seamless.
Wow, that's awesome. Who knew?
Yeah, I knew. I was there.
It's interesting because here we are. They're poised for mega success, and already they hate each other's guts and can't take a picture together.
Well, you know something. I mean, that's not true. The truth of the matter is that the catalyst for the unhappiness was Chris Stein. Mm-hmm. At the time, Clem and Nigel and Jimmy and Frank got along fine. Ultimately, it got ugly, and it's all based on greed.
Of course.
And putting Frank and Nigel out of the band, which was a terrible mistake, ethically, morally, and every other way, except financially for them. It was just not right. I mean, part of the reason Blondie is successful is Mike Chapman and Parallel Lines, and part of Parallel Lines' success is the work between Nigel and Clem, and Frank Infante is a wonderful guitar player. And it's just unfortunate, people get greedy and selfish, and it's not right, but that's the way it is.
Well, you mentioned something in our previous conversation when we were putting together the show about, and I quote, bands aren't successful by themselves.
That's
and
true.
Especially in that era, bands are successful because of the machinery that's behind them. Bands just didn't magically hit. And especially back then, like you said, there was the right producer, the right label, and that was certainly the case here, correct?
Yes, but don't limit it to bands. I mean, Carly Simon or, Cat Stevens or Jimi Hendrix or nobody. Jimi Hendrix is a band. I mean, just Paul Simon. It's never one person does it all. Everybody needs help. You can't have a career. I mean, the Beatles. Where would the Beatles be without Brian Epstein? Would the Beatles be without what's his face who produced all those wonderful? I'm not taking anything away from Lennon and McCartney and Ringo and George Harrison, but none of it is just one. It takes more than just one.
I could see, of course, how just as an outsider and as a young person growing up, it's like when you hear Jethro Tull, you think it's that guy in front of the stage playing the flute. People think to a certain extent at that era that Blondie, that's what her name was. She was Blondie.
Right.
So I think, did that sort of misconception play heavy into the dynamics of the band?
Well, whenever anybody said to me, then or now, refers to Deborah Harry as Blondie, my answer is Blondie is a group.
Yeah.
She's Deborah Harry.
Right.
She was never Debbie Harry. With me, she was Deborah Harry. No, it doesn't matter. I mean, Jethro Tull was the leader of a guy jumping around on one foot playing the flute. But
didn't you make Blondie as a group T-shirts at some point?
Yes, and I thought Deborah Harry was going to be so happy when I did that. She was pissed because I didn't ask her.
Yeah.
And we did there was a group of clubs in Cleveland called the Agora Chain, and we were playing
the Agora Ballroom and all that.
Yeah, and there were 3 or 4 of them.
Sure.
And I made these shirts, said Blondie is a group, pink on black T-shirts, and on the back, I printed the name of the Agora or the club we were playing on this club tour and the dates we were playing there. And then I made these buttons, like campaign buttons in black and pink that said Blondie is a group. And I sent enough T-shirts for all of the waiters and waitresses and bartenders in these clubs to wear them, and a bunch of the pins to throw on the table that the people who sat at the table and had their drinks and watched the show could take away with them. Deborah Harry was pissed. I didn't get her approval and permission.
Huh.
And I thought, wow, she's going to be so happy because she doesn't want to be Blondie. She wants Blondie to be a group. Listen, let's talk about Mike Chapman.
I have the button. Wait, here. I have the button here.
You have a Blondie as a group button?
Yeah, let's just take a peek at it. Hold on. It's a little small, but this is what, here we go.
Yeah, there it is.
In pink.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
When we signed with Chrysalis, I made pink T-shirts with, if a woman kisses with women's lips, on the back of the shirt. And on the front of the shirt, it said, Blondie loves chrysalis. And I made enough shirts for like the entire personnel. Everybody worked for chrysalis. And I sent them all as gifts when we signed with them, when it was announced, you know.
Yeah.
And Blondie loves chrysalis, and well, they should. Well, they should.
So let's talk about the connection with Mike Chapman, and then of course that leads into the next record, which was "Eat to the Beat." But can you give us some perspective on Mike Chapman and what a role he played in all this?
I certainly can. Mike Chapman came to the Whiskey every night to see Blondie and loved them, and I knew something about Mike's success. Not as much as I probably should have, but I liked him, and he was so enthused.
Can I interject that Mike Chapman produced the Nick Gilder city Hot Child in the City?
Yes,
I remember that. Yeah, that
he
was
produced Benatar.
Oh, that was later. He also produced the Sweet and Susie Quattro
And Hot Chocolate.
Right. Oh, I didn't know that.
So
Yeah.
Mike's there, and I write on a napkin, if or when I get the chance to choose a producer, I'll give you the first shot. And Mike had it framed and hangs by his desk in his office in Los Angeles. And when I did the deal with Terry, he asked me who I wanted to produce the next record. And I told him Mike, and he was just happy as a pig in shit, because he knows Mike so well, and he knows Mike's capabilities. So then when I have to tell the band who's going to produce the next record that Richard's gone, I remember this is another one of those conversations. The first thing Deborah Harry says to me is, he's a keyboard producer. And I start to think to myself about that which I know about Mike's productions, but there's no keyboards. But the message was, Chris is the guitar player, Jimmy's the keyboard player. That's bad. Anyway, they wound up having a love affair, Deborah Harry, Chris Stein, and Mike Chapman, and Mike did good work. I mean, and never wrote a song. You know, Mike's a very successful songwriter. Never wrote a song, never made the song better, because he's a great producer and a great guy.
And my perception of Mike Chapman too is correct me if I'm wrong, he was a bit of a taskmaster who really put this band, who was a little ramshackle, a little loose, he really ran them through the paces. Is that fair to say?
It's more than fair to say. The first time the band was in the studio with Mike, you know, sets up the band, sets up the mics, gets the sounds on the drum, whatever, and then starts to run down a song. And they played 12 seconds, maybe 6. And Mike pushed the button and said, it was very good in those Australian accent, but it wasn't right. Do it again.
One of those guys.
Yeah. And Richard Gotter's way of producing was play the song, and then Richard would say, well, did you like that take?
Right.
And the band would decide whether or not they liked that take. Richard was fine with it, not Mike. That was very good, but it wasn't right. Do it again. Oh, they wanted to kill him.
But obviously a winning formula ensues, and they never did another record without him in that era. He did every record, you know, starting with Parallel Lines on.
Huh.
Was it?
Yeah, and then I remember when they made a change, I was gone, but they made a change, and one of the management people said to me, oh, he's a has-been. I said, you just call Mike Chapman a has-been?
Ouch.
I said, yeah.
This record of this is my favorite Blondie record. Has Dreaming on it. You know, I love that song.
Dreaming's my favorite Blondie track.
Oh, I love it, man. It's great. It's really great.
I'll tell you something. You listen to Blondie music. Deborah Harry is a brilliant lyricist. I mean, brilliant. I mean, I remember my finest hour watching you shower. Anyway.
Well, that was the start of. It must have been a very exciting time to be involved with the band. Those couple of records there. I mean, they were not only huge in America, but this was a worldwide success. Correct?
Yes, especially Europe.
Yeah.
Not so much Japan, but
Right.
Australia and Europe. I mean, we did a record store once in London, and they had to get the police to get us out of there. I mean, Blondie mania in England was I mean, clearly no band in life will ever be the Beatles, and I'm not for a second suggesting that Blondie was the Beatles.
Sure.
But Blondie in England was significant.
People fell in love with Debbie Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple of 50, 60-year-old male friends who were wanking to Deborah Harry and are pretty free to admit it.
At what point does your relationship with them close out, and why did that happen?
I think there was a pinnacle event that was a mistake on my part. When I got involved with Blondie, it was the Debbie and Chris show. They did everything. They were in charge, whatever. I got involved, and I'm not a quiet stand on the side kind of person when it's my responsibility to get something done. And, you know, I'll tell you something. The Parallel Lines cover, there's a fellow named Peter Wagg, who was the art director for Chrysalis in London. And I think now he's the creative director for Band de Soleil. What's that thing? That touring group of, you know, tumblers and acrobats. It's a live show that tours.
I'm not sure. Band of Soul? No.
Anyway.
Okay.
Peter Wagg's the art director. I'm in London with Des Brown, who was the head of international for Chrysalis, talking about the next tour or something. And I leave Des and I run into Peter in the hall and he says, "Oh, I just saw your star." I said, "Oh, really? Why?" "She came to show me an album cover idea for the Parallel Lines album."
Oh, Al Mitchell says Circa de Soul.
Yeah, something like that.
Al
Peter
Mitchell.
Wagg,
Thank you,
guy.
Al. Yeah. Oh,
so anyway.
There you go. How about your ex-wife? She knows. Circa de Soul. There you go. Peggy says. Everybody, they're all chiming in now.
No, that's fine. Hello, Peggy.
All right.
So Peter Wagg says, "She came to show me an idea for the Parallel Lines album cover." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Well, how was it?" He said, "It was bloody fucking awful." I said, "Really? What did it look like?" He said, "It looked like a bunch of squiggly lines." I said, "Oh, well, what'd you tell her?" He said, "I told her it was bloody brilliant." I said, "You just told me it was bloody fucking awful. Why would you do that?" He said, "Mate, she's the star of the label." I said, "Yeah, but." Anyway, Debbie and Chris didn't like that somebody else was making the decisions. Anyway,
were you out before Auto American? Were you out before this?
no, I think that was the first album they did after I sold the contract.
Right. Got it.
But I had a very unpleasant European trip with them. It was just unpleasant, and life is just too short to have an intimate relationship as I think you have to have with your client and have there be so much unpleasant. There was no unpleasantness with Jimmy, Clem, Nigel, Frank, or Peter.
Mm.
And there was no pleasantness with Debbie and Chris, except once. There's a joint in Amsterdam called the Paradiso.
Yes, of course.
And we did a great show at the Paradiso. You couldn't get in. It was, just elbow to elbow. And the dressing rooms were downstairs. And after the show, I went downstairs, and Deborah Harry was drinking Cavassier out of the bottle. And she came over to me and she put her arm around my neck and told me how appreciative she was of blah, 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 blah. I mean, it was a really very lovely, very much appreciated conversation private that she and I had. It's the only one we ever had.
Wow.
She was loaded. And again, it's one of those conversations that you remember.
Sure.
And, you can't. Chris Stein is not a nice fellow and was very detrimental to the harmony of the band. And something, I met a lot of people who toured with Blondie, worked. The people who, the road crews, the people who hump the gear in and out of theaters,
Sure.
all those people know each other and they all speak truth and they're good guys, work hard. Oh man, that band was tough. Wasn't that band was tough? Chris Stein was tough. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that because once I was gone, I didn't have a relationship with them day to day. So maybe they all became tough.
Yep. Hey, let me take my last sponsor break here. A quick shout out, and let's come back and let's take some questions from around the world. Okay?
Sure.
Well, there you have it. It's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Our guest today is Mr. Peter Leeds, former manager of Blondie and many others, and we're honored to have him on the show. We are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, the Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Chachos Tacos, Generation Records, and come on now, Vlad, the Organic Grill. It's a vegan restaurant located in the East Village of New York City at 123 First Avenue. Featured in New York Magazine, New York Times, and Veg News. Their dishes have won numerous awards, including Best Goddamn Veggie Burger. They make their own cheeses, sausages, and burger patties, and every dish on the menu can be made gluten-free. This year, they're celebrating their 21st anniversary, and they're all about having a great time while enjoying amazing, clean food. They have now fully reopened for business and look forward to seeing you. Get in touch with them and order some great food at www.theorganicgrill.com. Come on now, Josh. Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, located in Lakewood, Colorado, is the Rocky Mountain headquarters for all things punk, hardcore, and metal. Goddamn electric. Established in 2014, they have the largest selection of CDs, shirts, records, stickers, patches, and accessories between Chicago and Los Angeles. From the pit to the ditch, they got your back. Get in touch with them at www.chainreactionrecords.com. Want to mention once again the book. There's about 30 books left. The New York Hardcore Chronicles, Volume 1, 1980 to 1989. Second printing is available at www.stonefilmsnyc.com. Purchase the book. I'll sign it for you. They're all numbered. The second volume, Volume 2, 1990 to 1999, is in the works right now. We're looking for some flyers and stuff like that. If anybody was big in New York hardcore in that era and wants to contribute to the book, please feel free to reach out. What else do I need to mention? Just real quick, a week from today, Gary G-Man Sullivan from Cro-Mags B-52 is on the show. Then the Sunday after that is Rick Thorne, BMX legend. We might do a show on Sunday. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what I'll do with myself if we don't do a show. So that's it. Let's come back. Let's take some questions. Anything for Peter Leeds? We'll do a couple of questions for him. Here we go, Mr. Peter Leeds. How you doing over there?
I'm doing great.
Are you all right?
Yeah.
Do you have a heart out? Are you
Whatever
winded?
you want, I'm here for you.
Okay, we'll do a couple of questions. Here's one from our friend Gary. Going back a little, can we touch quickly on Peter's memories of Hilly and Blondie and CBGBs? What was the vibe like there in the 70s?
Well, Hilly Crystal was a nice man. But from the time I got involved to the time I left, my deal with Hilly was always the same. I run the door. And I went there when the club opened for business.
Uh-huh.
I took the money. You know, whatever the agreed upon admission was, that was our money. He got the bar, we got the door.
And you had your people run the door?
I ran the fucking door, mostly. And when I didn't, yes. And I'll tell you something, we played there a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday matinee.
Wow.
And I took the money home every night. And I think I took $13,000 out of there. And the next Monday or something, I met the band and I gave them each an envelope with their money. Yeah, Hilly's was a nice man. I recently did something, I can't remember what I did to help his daughter. His daughter and I had a mutual friend, and they needed something, and I got it for them. Yeah, I wasn't letting Hilly touch our money.
Okay. Here's I'm glad someone brought this up because we don't really we haven't touched on this at all, but I think it would be a bit of a disservice. Just real quick, who in the Runaways was his favorite? Any Runaways memories that are cherished years later?
No, but my favorite was definitely Sandy West, the drummer.
Okay.
She was a really nice woman. Joan's a nice person also. I introduced Joan to her current manager.
Kenny?
Yeah. I brought Kenny to Los Angeles. I forget what I don't remember the details, but I got Kenny out there and got him involved. Kenny's a great guy. And I'm delighted that they've had the success that they've had.
Here's an interesting question. What was his favorite band he worked with that had no success that we should YouTube? Is there somebody that you worked with that you really felt, didn't get their just desserts, so to speak?
Yeah, Lord Tracy.
Oh, yeah, we got to talk about Lord Tracy. So Lord Tracy is an interesting band that you worked with. A lot of people, for those that may not know, Peter managed a band called Lord Tracy. The singer was a guy named Terry Glaze, who was the original singer in Pantera, correct?
Yeah.
What was the story with Lord Tracy?
Well, Lord Tracy was a band that fronted by Terry Glaze, had a great drummer named Chris Craig, a fabulous bass player named Barney Wolf, a good guitar player named Jimmy Rusadoff. And they were a great bar band. And they had a deal with Universal, I think, and they had a single called Out With the Boys. And Out With the Boys almost broke. And what happened was...
it was the former Black Oak, Arkansas bassist Barney Wolf, right? Terry Glaze. Yeah.
I don't know about Barney being with Black Oak, Arkansas. That must...
Yeah.
I think my son David's in touch with Barney. He left.
Yeah, Out with the Boys on Uni Records.
Yeah, it almost broke. I mean, it was charting, and yeah, it was so close. And you know what happens in December is they close down playing stuff like that because they're playing Christmas music. And it was just another month that I think I could have broken the band. Also, if Lord Tracy was on Chrysalis when Terry Ellis was running Chrysalis, and Terry Ellis loved Lord Tracy the way he loved Blondie,
right?
He'd have broken that band because he'd have spent the money.
Yeah.
Terry Ellis is a person who, along with Mike Chapman, doesn't get enough credit for the success of Blondie.
Sure. Here's one from our beloved friend Bob Riley up in Troy, New York. Blondie had some really cool album covers. The Car Crash cover, the Giger cover. Who came up with the concepts? The band?
Well, the Parallel Lines cover's mine.
Yeah, we got
the
that.
The Geiger cover, I hate. And I mean...
What was the Geiger cover? What was the Geiger cover? What was that?
It's the one with Deborah Harry with nails in her head.
Oh, Cuckoo, her solo record. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Right.
I think that was a terrible mistake.
Right.
The Car Crash cover, I can't remember how that came about. We did it in Los Angeles, and there's a sign. If you put the cover back up or you look at the cover, there's a sign in a window behind the car that says plastic letters. And that's where the title came from. It was just accidental.
Oh, wow.
But the Parallel Lines name, title, that's a Deborah Harry creation.
Sure. Got it. That makes sense. Lou Davis says, Peter taught me so much in our management company partnership, but the most important lesson I learned and what has become my mantra in working with my current partners and employees came from his constant directive, quote, Lou, get the money. I love you, old friend.
Yeah. Money's important.
You know, Ashley, and we're winding it down here. Ashley says, it must be a lot of stress when a band has to make a follow-up with something that's going to top the last. Was there an incredible amount of pressure after Parallel Lines and Eat to the Beat?
Oh, I'm sure there was, but I was gone.
Well, you were there after Parallel Lines.
Yeah, but not much. No, the unpleasantness that I talked about in that last trip, Chris Stein gave me a load of shit because the first show they played was a bomb. They were terrible. And he gave me a bunch of crap because they didn't have enough rehearsal time. And before I had gone on that trip, I had just paid the bill for the rehearsal time. So I knew exactly how many days and how many hours each day they had for rehearsal. And I was thinking about it, and I said, well, Chris, I just paid the bill before I came here and whatever. And then he tells me that he never approved the picture of himself that's on the cover. He never approved a photograph of himself with his hands in his pocket and smiling. when we had those pictures shot that I told you about, they were each shot individually.
Let me do
And then
that.
I had each of the band in my office and gave them their pictures, maybe 20, 30, 40 pictures of themselves. Tell me the ones you like, tell me the ones you don't like. The ones they liked, I sent out to a guy named Billy Bass, who was in charge of doing the cover. And Billy only had the pictures of each of the individuals that had been pre-approved by the person. So Chris Nine is telling me he never approved of a smiley face with his hands in his pocket, but he didn't get it. So I'm remembering, I said, well, you remember the pictures you approved and those you didn't, but you can't remember how many hours you had of rehearsal time. Anyway, that was just another bump in the road.
Yeah, that seems that was the case there. That said, I think we covered a lot. Is there anything that you'd like to mention from that era, or anything you feel you'd like to touch on, or that we missed?
No, I had a lot of great fun. I had a lot of great partners, Lou Davis being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody has regrets in their lives and everybody has things they're proud of. I got some of each.
Absolutely.
And I'm still here, mostly coherent.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It was a real honor, and I really enjoyed it. You know, I really enjoy when I have the opportunity to do these kind of shows and sort of go outside the box a little bit from the usual format, and I really enjoyed this. So I thank you very much.
Well, I enjoyed it too. Thank you.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon, Peter. Thank you.
I look forward to it. Take good care,
Okay.
Drew.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Well, there you have it, Mr. Peter Leeds. Great show. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it at least half as much as I did. Thanks, Al Mitchell, Circus of Power. It was great. It was really great. And, you know, I really enjoy doing my homework, for these kind of shows. You know, the hardcore stuff's kind of easy for me. So Bob Riley, I love you, bro. And I look forward, we got a show down in New York, and look forward to seeing you and the fellas down here. My pleasure, Paula. I hope you enjoyed it. Lou Davis, hey, thank you so much for stopping by. And David Leeds, Peter's son, and of course, my beloved friend Philip Leeds. I love you, bro. And thank you, D. I appreciate it. Yes, these are the deep history shows for me too. Do a lot of work for these shows. Do a lot of hard work for these shows. And I appreciate everybody that supports this show. Doesn't just magically happen, as we say. It doesn't just magically happen. If you want to support this show, please become a patron. It's right there. Become a patron and support the show so we can continue to do these shows. Is that right? Did Ronnie Spector pass away? I saw that going up during the show. Lori Dawn, what's up? Women in the Pit represent. We got the big Rampage Mosh Fest coming up. Women in the Pit and the Back to the New York Hardcore Roots Music Series presents Rampage Fest 3. It's going down on April 3rd. Get your shoes and socks on, kids. It is truly right around the corner. 8 bands, 2 stages, both upstairs and downstairs. We're going to start revealing bands soon, but it's going to be great. Is that right? Ronnie Spector passed away. Well, rest in peace, Ronnie Spector. Ashley, thank you for chiming in. That was awesome. Yeah, Sean. Love these old school stories and backstories for the management. I know they're great, right? It's like, we hear a lot of the band stuff, but, really incredible. You know, especially like from a guy like this too. That was, here's a guy that was in. Hold on, he was, you know, in the room. You know, this photo that we put up, recording Parallel Lines. I mean, this is a guy that was in the mix, and it's interesting. Old school manager, you know, talk about how things were done in the music business back then. Oof, man, it was a battlefield. You know, it was a battlefield. Everybody should be happy they got their little laptop to record their little garage band. Hey, my band. We're on Bandcamp. Have you heard my band on Bandcamp? Fuck out of here. Yeah. Sam Cutler, Monty Melnock, Ed Stasium. Yeah. Right on, man. God. I did that? God damn. God damn, this show is great. You know? God damn. How lucky am I? No, the dude kneeling in the studio, that's the producer. You know? That's the producer. So, you know. Yes, Deborah. Great interview. I remember these groups. Yeah. Yeah. RS70, rep it, bro. Rep it. We were talking about doing a graffiti. We might need to do a graffiti show finally. Get some real heavyweights. You know? We might need to do like, I might have to reach out to Revolt and get like some real heavyweights on this show. Right? Might be time. Might be time to do that. What else? Covered a lot today. Buy the book if you don't know, you know, www.stonefilmsnyc.com. There it is. Buy the book. There's like 20 or 30 left. I'll sign it for you. All right. What else going on here? Yeah. New York Hardcore. That's right. MQ. Right. Like we'll ever get MQ on this show. I'm friends with MQ. He ain't coming on this show. You never know. You know? Blackie Lawless. Is that right? You love to see Blackie Lawless? You know what? I'd love to get Blackie Lawless on the show. What's the Long Beach show? It's Long Beach United. It's a boxing club that screened my Muhammad Ali documentary. Long Beach United Boxing Club. Some friends own it and run it. Yeah, Chippy. How are you, Chippy? Speaking of graffiti guys, right? I should get Revolt. He's a can-do for me. Maybe we could get a couple guys. I don't think Lars from Rancid wants to come on the show, but we could try. We got a lot of shows booked, a lot of shows backed up, you know, but we always love talking about who we want on the show, don't we? Right? We always love chopping it up. Who do we want on the show, you know? Let's play Who Do You Want on the Show? Go. All right? We'll do 5 minutes on who you want on the show. Always a good sesh, you know? John Brannon, it's in the works. John Brannon, Negative Approach, in the works. Cliffhanger doesn't know how to turn a computer on, bro. I've talked to him. He doesn't even know like where the on and off button is. He's Richard Hell, good one, Chippy. Richard Hell's a good one. Agoraphobic nosebleed. Yep. Jerry only. I've talked to Jerry, man. Jerry won't do it. I've talked to Doyle. You know, Jerry's like, you know, we didn't go on Conan O'Brien. Why would we do your show, Drew? Nice insult, right? Nice backhanded insult. We didn't do we turned Conan O'Brien down. Why would we do your show, Drew? Nice. And Doyle just doesn't want to deal with the makeup, and you know. What else? Jeff Breakdown. I don't think Jeff's interested. You know, it's also we like to get people on the show that actually watch the show and enjoy the show and know what the frick we're doing here. You know, it's always tough when you're like, hey, I'm doing this show, you know, and it's Glenn ain't coming on the show. Phil's a maybe. Phil's a maybe. I'm friends with Phil, you know, but Glenn wouldn't do it. Sebastian Bach. I'd actually love to have Sebastian Bach on the show. I like talking to dudes like that, you know. I like, you know. Bobby Adams from 7 Seconds. Well, we just had Kevin on. By the way, I heard Kevin Seconds got his guitars back. Did you see that? His place got broken into. They stole his guitars, and somehow, hey Chippy, why don't you talk to Daryl? Because you don't want to. I tried Daryl when the show started. Daryl don't want to come on the show. You know what I mean? Daryl, you talk to him, Chip. Tell Daryl he can do the 200th show. We should be, yeah. What else? Yeah, listen, you know, Duff McKagan. Oh, hell yeah. Guys like Duff McKagan and Ice-T, they're hard for me to get at. They have agents, and it's hard to sort of to get at them. Members from Slayer. Well, Gary Holt is always on deck. We'll get Gary Holt back. He was on once. We'll get Gary back again. Skeeter is on deck also. He's on the list, and I talked to Skeeter. Vito from White Lion. Are you kidding? Vito Bratta hasn't done a public interview in like 30 years. You know? Mike Patton, that would be cool. Yeah, Ron Rancid. Yeah, I got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. Ron Rancid ain't coming on the show. That's for sure. I've talked to Rob from Machine Head. He's not real interested. He has his own show. Scam Dust, the cat caller. Sure, why not? Tim from VOD. Yeah, that's a possibility. Not sure what Tim is doing these days, you know. Dwayne from Some Records, is he even around anymore? You know, you want to have people. You want to have people also that are doing something. You know, that are doing something now. Templars, Karen Black. So, you know, Kembra would be great. I'm a fan of Kembra's, so she'd be welcome on the show. I've always been a fan of hers. She's a fearless performance artist. I've been a fan of hers for many, many years. The gluten-free motherfuckers. Okay. Chippy, I love Richard Hell. You know what? I might have to figure that one out. You know, Richard Hell. Yes, rest in peace, Ronnie Spector. Wow. Karen Black is passed on? I'm not sure what that means. Mike from All Out War. Lita Ford. That'd be cool. Lita Ford would be cool. What was that song that Lita Ford did with Ozzy? What was that? If I close my eyes forever. Is that what that was? Who died? I'd love to have Tom Verlaine on the show from Television. Television, hugely influential band, incredible band. Would love to have Tom Verlaine on. That said, hey, I'm not going to see it for a while. Chip, is it Chip from Sheer Terror Ludachrist? I haven't heard that name in a minute, man. Or Mark Newman, right? You know, maybe we'll do a Sunday like pop-up show. Mike Watt, Chicky, that's it, Chicky from Sheer. Yeah, I haven't heard Chicky's name in a minute, man. You know, you'd be happy with whoever's on. Well, thank you, bro. I appreciate it. And listen, we're all happy with whoever's on the show, but it's fun. It's fun it's fun to chop it up a little bit, right? Yes, of course. Kembra. Yeah. I'm friends with Kembler. She's cool, man. Zowie. Zowie went MIA 30 years ago, bro. Zowie doesn't. If anybody knows where Zowie, aka Howard Ackerman, is, you know. Hey, Robert, thank you, buddy. I hope you're hope things are well out in Scotland, man. You know, hope things are well, buddy. Maybe we'll do a pop-up show on Sunday. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do on Sunday. You know, what am I going to do on Sunday? For 2 years now, I've done this show every Sunday, or we played a show. So have to figure out what the hell. Peggy, thank you. Thank you for chiming in. Really nice to see you out there. And all the Leeds family, Peter and Philip and David. It was really great today. So, geez, Riley, you're a real chatty Cathy today, huh? What's going on up there Hey, you know, Riley, talk to friggin' Don Fury. Let's get Donnie on here. We'll buy him a bottle or whatever, and we'll get Don Fury on here. You know? Cheers, Drew. My partner got COVID, but now is doing well. Ugh. Just woke up. That's it. Bob Riley just woke up. Bob Riley works the midnight, the graveyard shift. When I wake up in the morning, I can text Bob Riley. He responds. You know, Sid the Kid, where you been, bro? Sid the Kid? Damn, Sid. God. You ever going to come on the show again, Sid? The girl who played Spike on Degrassi Junior High. I have no idea what that is. Cheetah Chrome, good call. We love that guy. And I've worked with Cheetah before. He's in my film. Who the fuck is that guy? The Fabulous Journey of Michael Lago. Yeah. Listen, we're always open to Kenny Hickey from Typo Negative. You know? All right, that said, on the East Coast here, let's go, let's have some dinner. Everybody around the world, thank you for tuning in. Maybe we'll do a pop-up show on Sunday, like just a fun pop-up show on Sunday. Let me talk to the forces that be, and we'll see what we got going there. So thanks again, everybody. Till next we meet, which could be Sunday, or very well could be a week from today, Wednesday. Do good things and good things will come to you.